Picture this. You're standing at the edge of one of Earth's most unforgiving landscapes, the Taklamakan Desert in Xinjiang, China. The scene unfolding before you seems almost impossible to comprehend. Beneath a relentless sun, an army of 30,000 farmers moves methodically across the dunes, planting vegetation by hand. But that's just the beginning. Thousands of autonomous planting vehicles painted in green traverse the terrain in synchronized patterns, their mechanical hum echoing across the wasteland. Above, the sky swarms with tens of thousands of drones, each one programmed to scatter seeds with surgical precision. Meanwhile, an endless convoy of transport trucks delivers wave after wave of seedlings into the desert's heart. When a group of American travelers witnessed this spectacle recently, they stood frozen in disbelief. Some whispered that the Chinese must have lost their minds. After all, who would dare attempt such an audacious feat in a place where logic says nothing should grow? Yet here was undeniable proof. Farmers and machines working in concert, launching what can only be described as a greening revolution in one of the planet's harshest environments. This isn't just about planting a few trees. China has committed to constructing what they call the Green Great Wall, a living barrier spanning approximately 4.79 million acres. The strategy is methodical. Encircle the desert, contain its spread, and gradually transform those endless seas of sand into thriving oases bursting with life. It's a vision so ambitious that it borders on the fantastical. Yet it's happening right now. Over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through this extraordinary environmental megaproject. By the time we're done, I promise your perspective on what's possible will have shifted. But before we dive deeper, if you appreciate content that explores humanity's most ambitious endeavors, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our investigations into the projects reshaping our world. Now let's explore how China is attempting to rewrite the rules of desert reclamation. The desert that defies life. The Taklamakan Desert occupies the central basin of Xinjiang's southern territory and holds the distinction of being China's largest desert wasteland. Stretching across 337,600 square kilometers, it ranks as the world's 10th largest desert. But size alone doesn't capture the brutal reality of this environment. The numbers paint a stark picture of survival. Annual rainfall barely reaches 100 millimeters in most areas, and in the driest zones, precipitation plummets to a mere 4 or 5 millimeters per year. To put that in perspective, many temperate cities receive that much rain in a single afternoon storm. Meanwhile, evaporation rates soar to staggering heights, between 2,500 and 3,400 millimeters annually. That means water evaporates anywhere from 25 to 850 times faster than rain can replenish it. In such a punishing landscape, simply existing becomes an act of endurance. Few people choose to make this region their permanent home, and those who do must constantly contend with more than just the elements. The desert harbors dangerous wildlife, and the extreme temperature swings between scorching days and freezing nights create an environment hostile to nearly all life forms. Yet in 2024, China launched an initiative that international observers labeled as borderline insane. Despite the lethal conditions, despite the wildlife threats, despite decades of conventional wisdom suggesting certain projects are simply beyond reach, Chinese planners moved forward with what they're calling the Taklamakan Desert Boundary Plan. It's a project that has captured global attention and prompted serious questions about the limits of human ambition and engineering. The birth of a multi-generational vision. The seeds of this audacious plan were actually planted decades ago. Back in 1978, Chinese policymakers recognized a fundamental threat. The desert wasn't static. It was expanding, swallowing more land each year, threatening communities and agricultural zones that bordered the wasteland. Something had to be done to halt the desert's relentless march. The solution they proposed was breathtaking in scope: construct a living green barrier that would encircle the entire Taklamakan Desert. This protective belt would stretch for 3,046 kilometers and require an investment approaching $2 billion US. To understand the scale, that's roughly the distance from New York to Los Angeles. Such a massive undertaking couldn't possibly be accomplished in a single generation. This became a relay race of determination, with each generation of workers passing the baton to the next, building incrementally on the progress of those who came before. After 46 years of sustained effort, November 2024 marked a historic milestone. The 3,046-kilometer green protection belt was finally completed, creating the world's longest ecological defense line surrounding a desert. Satellite imagery now shows a distinct green ribbon wrapping around the yellow expanse, visible proof that decades of labor have yielded tangible results. But rather than declaring victory and moving on, China has decided to double down. The recently completed barrier is just the foundation for something even more ambitious. According to the expanded project blueprint, that existing greenbelt will now be widened and extended to encompass an additional 4.79 million acres. The next phase, expanding the green frontier. This past May, authorities in Xinjiang announced the next chapter of the Greening Initiative. Using scientific analysis and agricultural research, they're identifying new crop varieties specifically suited to desert conditions. The goal isn't just to add more plants, but to dramatically expand the width of the protective belt from its current 110 meters to an astounding 7,500 meters. That's nearly 25,000 feet of green buffer designed to prevent even a single grain of sand from encroaching on reclaimed territory. What makes this phase particularly innovative is the economic model underpinning it. Rather than relying solely on government workers or contractors, planners are mobilizing the private initiative of local farmers by offering compelling financial incentives. Here's how it works. The government allocates previously undeveloped sandy land to village collectives. Individual farmers can then contract between 30 and 50 acres of this land for cultivation. The crops they're encouraged to plant serve dual purposes. They must provide economic returns while simultaneously combating desertification. The genius of this approach is that all profits from these crops flow directly to the farmers themselves, creating a powerful motivation for success. The track record so far is impressive. Chinese farmers have already established specialized economic crops across 6.24 million acres of formerly barren land surrounding the desert. These include varieties like Cistanche deserticola and other desert-adapted plants. The agricultural output from these areas has generated more than 30 billion yuan in value and created stable employment for over 300,000 people. For the farmers themselves, the impact is tangible. Average annual household incomes have increased by 3,000 to 4,500 yuan. To ensure this expansion has the necessary infrastructure support, the Chinese government has committed approximately 1.1 billion yuan annually in dedicated funding. This covers essential elements like water supply systems, electrical infrastructure, and land preparation, the foundation upon which desert agriculture depends. Solving the water puzzle. Anyone familiar with desert ecology immediately recognizes the most daunting challenge: water. How do you irrigate crops in a region that receives virtually no rainfall? In extreme arid zones like the Taklamakan, natural surface water sources are essentially non-existent. Traditional agriculture seems impossible under such conditions. But in 2021, Chinese scientists made a discovery that changed everything. Using advanced geological surveying techniques, they detected a massive underground aquifer beneath the desert, a hidden ocean of groundwater covering approximately 280,000 square kilometers. That's roughly 80% of the entire desert's surface area. The volume of water stored in this subterranean reservoir is almost incomprehensible: 360 billion cubic meters. To grasp that scale, it represents about 1/5 of the total water volume contained in North America's Great Lakes. Suddenly, the seemingly impossible notion of large-scale desert irrigation had a potential water source. However, there was a significant complication. The majority of this groundwater is either saline or brackish, too salty for direct agricultural use. This occurs because the desert receives so little precipitation while experiencing extremely high evaporation rates. Over geological timescales, minerals and salts have become concentrated in these underground water bodies, creating high salinity conditions. Many would have seen this as a dead end, but Chinese researchers saw an engineering challenge to be solved. As far back as 2013, they began conducting experiments with brackish water irrigation techniques. After years of trials in various conditions, they made a breakthrough discovery. Crops irrigated with treated brackish water not only survived, but often matched the yields of those watered with fresh water. This meant that vast freshwater resources could be conserved while still supporting productive agriculture. This research has proven invaluable for the current desert cultivation initiatives. Through a series of treatment processes, Chinese engineers can now convert highly saline brackish water, with salt concentrations exceeding 10 grams per liter, into water with salinity levels between 1 and 3 grams per liter. At these reduced concentrations, the water becomes safe for irrigating most economic crops and adequately meets agricultural water requirements. When solar panels become desert tamers. The innovative approaches to desert reclamation don't stop at water treatment. Chinese researchers have introduced what might seem like an unlikely tool for combating desertification: photovoltaic solar panels. At first glance, using solar panels for ecological restoration might seem odd, but the logic is elegant. When installed in large arrays across desert terrain, solar panels create shade that blocks direct sunlight from hitting the sand. This seemingly simple intervention reduces surface temperatures by 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, which in turn decreases water evaporation rates by 20 to 30%. In a desert environment where every drop of moisture matters, this represents a significant ecological advantage. The benefits extend beyond daytime shading. During cooler nighttime hours, condensation forms on the solar panel surfaces. This dew, combined with the small amounts of water used during routine panel cleaning, gradually percolates down into the sand below. While individual droplets seem insignificant across thousands of panels over months and years, this moisture contribution helps alleviate drought conditions and supports emerging plant roots. The physical presence of the solar panel arrays also serves a mechanical function in desert stabilization. The panels act as windbreaks, reducing ground-level wind speeds by 30 to 50%. This dramatic reduction in wind velocity prevents sand particles from being picked up and transported, effectively immobilizing the mobile dunes that characterize active deserts. For maximum effectiveness, engineers combine the photovoltaic installations with traditional desert control methods. Workers construct grid barriers using reeds or wheat straw, weaving them into 1-meter square checkerboard patterns across the sand. When these grass grids are paired with the wind-blocking arrays of solar panels overhead, they create a multi-layered defense system that firmly anchors previously shifting sand dunes in place. The Kashgar region in Xinjiang provides a compelling case study of this approach in action. The area currently under photovoltaic desert control has expanded to 194,000 acres. The installed solar capacity connected to the electrical grid has reached 6.486 million kilowatts. This means the region is simultaneously achieving two critical goals: ecological restoration and clean energy generation. It's a perfect example of how modern technology can serve multiple purposes when thoughtfully deployed. The world takes notice. The scale and ambition of China's desert transformation project hasn't gone unnoticed internationally. Each year, growing numbers of foreign visitors, Tourists, scientists, agricultural experts, and policymakers arrive to observe the greening operations firsthand and learn from Chinese experiences. This past June provided a particularly striking example. A large delegation of international visitors made their way to the Taklamakan desert during the peak of the planting season. As they approached the work sites, they encountered an almost surreal scene. The sun blazed overhead with typical desert intensity. Spread across the landscape, 30,000 Chinese farmers labored manually, each person methodically planting crops by hand in the ancient style of agriculture. But surrounding them was a display of 21st-century technology. Thousands of green-colored autonomous vehicles moved in coordinated patterns, automatically digging holes, placing seedlings, and covering roots with sand. Above this ground activity, the sky seemed alive with tens of thousands of drones, each following programmed flight paths to aerially distribute rose seeds with remarkable accuracy. Completing the picture were thousands of trucks in constant motion, forming supply chains that delivered continuous waves of seedlings from nurseries to planting sites deep in the desert interior. For the international observers, the spectacle was overwhelming. Many struggled to reconcile what their eyes were showing them with what they had assumed was possible. The idea that human labor, even when augmented by advanced machinery, could genuinely alter the fundamental character of such an enormous desert challenged their preconceptions about environmental limits. According to reports from Xinjiang authorities, these high-tech tools have been instrumental in successfully greening 4.79 million acres along the desert's periphery. Let's examine some of these technologies more closely. The machines reshaping the desert. So, those green autonomous vehicles that caught visitors' attention aren't ordinary tractors. They're actually unmanned tree planting robots representing cutting-edge agricultural automation. Each machine is equipped with Beidou navigation, which is China's satellite positioning system, kind of comparable to GPS. Using this precise location data, the robots move along predetermined routes without any human operators, autonomously executing the complete sequence of trenching, seedling placement, and soil covering. The efficiency gains here are truly remarkable. A single robot can complete planting operations across 1 acre of land with tamarisk shrubs in just 19 minutes. By comparison, human workers would require more than 20 times longer to accomplish the same task. This dramatic improvement in planting speed means that the greening initiative can scale to levels that would be completely impractical with traditional manual methods alone. Now, the aerial drones participating in this desert transformation aren't your conventional photography drones. They've actually been specifically modified for agricultural seeding operations. Just like the ground robots, these flying machines utilize Beidou navigation for precision guidance. Operators program them with specific coordinates, and the drones then autonomously plan optimal flight paths, typically following serpentine patterns that allow them to efficiently cover the undulating terrain of sand dunes. A single seeding drone can treat up to 500 acres in a single day of operation. The grass seeds, it disperses land with positional accuracy within half a meter of target coordinates. This combination of speed and precision means that one drone can accomplish what would take 20 workers performing the same task manually. Additionally, the overall cost of aerial seeding has decreased by approximately 60% compared to traditional hand-sowing methods. Xinjiang authorities have recently deployed an even more sophisticated variant, Beidou integrated multispectral drones. These advanced machines don't just scatter seeds randomly, they carry sensors capable of analyzing soil conditions through spectral imaging. By examining the reflected light wavelengths from the ground below, the drones can identify which areas are most suitable for specific plant species. Based on this analysis, they precisely deliver seeds for species like poplar trees and other plants genetically adapted to local soil chemistry. The results really speak for themselves. In areas treated with aerial seeding, vegetation coverage rates have climbed to 35%, a dramatic improvement in desert ecology. Meanwhile, costs have dropped by 70% compared to manual planting operations. The combination of effectiveness and efficiency makes this technology particularly attractive for scaling desert reclamation efforts. The medicinal miracle, licorice in the sands. This past June brought another significant development. Chinese researchers identified a crop with exceptional potential for desert cultivation, licorice, which is often called the king of Chinese medicinal materials due to its importance in traditional medicine. Laboratory analysis and field trials revealed that licorice possesses extraordinary drought resistance and salt-alkali tolerance, precisely the characteristics needed for desert agriculture. The plant thrives in deep, loose, fertile, well-drained sandy loam soils, preferring neutral to slightly alkaline pH levels. As it happens, transformed desert soils after treatment and preparation match these requirements almost perfectly. Beyond just surviving in harsh conditions, licorice actively contributes to environmental stabilization. Its extensive root systems help prevent wind erosion and fix mobile sand in place. This means every licorice plant serves double duty, as an economic crop and as an ecological restoration tool. But honestly, the economic benefits are what truly excite farmers. According to agricultural workers in Xinjiang who have pioneered licorice cultivation, the financial returns are substantial. Large-scale licorice farming has already been established across certain desert regions, with current planting areas reaching 2,000 acres. The market price for dried licorice root has soared to 200 yuan per kilogram, creating significant income opportunities. The economic value actually extends beyond the harvested roots. Licorice seedlings can be sold as livestock feed, generating an additional 30 yuan in revenue per acre. Even the seeds command premium prices. Each acre of licorice can produce approximately 10 kilograms of seeds, which sell for 300 yuan per kilogram. These high-value returns create powerful incentives for farmer participation. When families can generate substantial and reliable income from desert lands that were previously considered worthless, enthusiasm for environmental projects naturally follows. It transforms desert greening from a government mandate into an economic opportunity that farmers actively embrace. Fish farming in the desert. An unlikely innovation. China's desert innovations extend beyond just planting vegetation. In what might seem like, well, an absurdist fantasy, Chinese farmers have successfully established fish farming operations in the heart of the desert. Located on the vast Gobi Desert of the Turpan Basin in Xinjiang, there's now a substantial salmon farming facility featuring 46 land-based barrel cultivation systems and 52 standardized fish ponds. The entire operation required an investment of $2.7 million and represents a modern aquaculture project with a total breeding water volume of 20,000 cubic meters. By utilizing comprehensive breeding technology developed by Chinese aquaculture companies, this facility has achieved something previously thought impossible, bringing salmon, a cold-water fish species, into the heart of one of Asia's hottest deserts. Current projections indicate the facility will produce 1,200 tons of high-quality salmon annually by 2025, generating revenues exceeding $7 million. The environmental challenges here are obvious. This region experiences extreme inland high temperatures that seem completely incompatible with salmon farming. Traditional aquaculture methods could never maintain the strict temperature and dissolved oxygen requirements that salmon need to survive and grow. Chinese researchers overcame these obstacles through land-based factory farming technology. The key insight was to utilize snowmelt water flowing down from the Tianshan Mountains. Engineers designed a sophisticated multi-stage circulation system that maintains water temperatures in the outdoor aeration pools between 10 and 18 degrees Celsius year-round, regardless of external air temperatures that can exceed 40 degrees Celsius in summer. Oxygenation presented another critical challenge. Salmon require high dissolved oxygen levels, but warm water naturally holds less oxygen than cold water. The solution came through innovative high-efficiency liquid oxygen mixing technology, which increases dissolved oxygen content to more than 3 times the concentration achieved in traditional fish farming operations. With these systems in place, a single 200 cubic meter pool can support 5 to 6 tons of salmon, a remarkable stocking density that remains healthy due to the precisely controlled environmental conditions. The ecological wisdom extends to water management. The Chinese research team designed a one water, two uses circulation model. After serving the fish farming operation, the water doesn't go to waste. Instead, it passes through multiple treatment stages including sedimentation, aeration, and biological purification. Following these treatments, the water becomes suitable for agricultural irrigation, serving a second purpose before eventually returning to the broader water cycle. This approach really exemplifies the integrated thinking that characterizes many of China's desert projects, finding ways to extract multiple benefits from limited resources while minimizing waste and environmental impact. 3 decades of perseverance. When you step back and examine the full scope of what's been accomplished, a remarkable picture emerges. For more than 30 years, through multiple political administrations and economic cycles, China has maintained consistent commitment to desert reclamation. Whether planting trees in hostile wastelands where few humans venture, or experimenting with fish farming on parched, barren ground that logic says should support no life whatsoever, Chinese engineers, scientists, and workers have demonstrated extraordinary persistence and creativity. These aren't isolated experiments or publicity stunts. They're systematic efforts to develop replicable techniques for reversing desertification. Each successful pilot project yields data, experience, and refined methods that can be applied more broadly. The implications extend far beyond China's borders. Desertification threatens communities on every continent except Antarctica. According to United Nations estimates, land degradation affects more than 2 billion people globally and costs the world economy hundreds of billions of dollars annually in lost agricultural productivity. As climate change accelerates and weather patterns become more extreme, the problem is intensifying.